Hi, everyone. If you're just joining us, we're going to go ahead and get started in just another minute or so. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. It's Morgan here at Jotform. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about the latest feature of Jotform approvals, group approvals. With group approvals, you can quickly get feedback from several stakeholders in one easy step. Most of our session today will be a demo of how to set up your group approvals, but I'm going to start with a little bit of background. Also, at the end of the session today, my colleague Lainey is on the line with us today to walk us through some Q&A. She may also be responding to some questions behind the scenes, so stick around for those questions as well. And just on a personal note, I just returned from an otherwise lovely vacation with a miserable cold, so please bear with me if I need to mute myself at any point or stop for a little extra water today. I'm going to try to get through this as smoothly as possible. All right, so let's get into that background information that I mentioned. We launched Jotform approvals about a year and a half ago, and we have since made multiple additions and improvements to the product based on the user feedback that we've received from folks like you attending webinars and submitting your questions, from people writing into support, etc. In this case, group approvals is a response to multiple different needs and requests that have come in. To be able to easily request a decision from multiple people at once was one of those. Another is to be able to get one approver of many possible approvers to sign off on something, the option to be able to take over a task on behalf of somebody who's unavailable, and the ability to easily track responses in one single place. It has been possible to do a lot of this already, but it wasn't necessarily clean or easy. So really the key of group approvals is the streamlining. Previously, to require feedback from multiple people or a single person of many required that you add an individual approver element for each approver, and then a split or merge workflow elements depending on what workflow you were looking to do. That could have made for potentially messy workflows, and it also made it harder to keep track of responses and decisions as they came in. So basically, it was not the most efficient way to set up an approval workflow and to follow an approval workflow as responses came in. Group approvals cleans and simplifies this entire process by having one single approver element for up to 10 approvers if you're a paid Jotform user, 3 approvers if you are using a free Jotform plan, and unlimited users for those of you who are enterprise Jotform users. Once you add your approvers, you can choose how many responses you need and when the flow should move to the next stage. You'll also see decisions in a single thread in your Jotform inbox. So the result of all of this is a significantly faster, cleaner, and easier process to create and follow along with. If you're an enterprise user that's using Teams, you can also follow a similar process to send an approval request to a team within your organization. I will be showing you that as well in our demo. Why might you be interested in group approvals? Well, if any of that has resonated with you, definitely group approvals could be for you. This is something to check out if you're somebody who has had one of those maybe unwieldy workflows, or somebody who's been hesitant about using approvals because you thought that your workflow would be too complicated to set up. If you're not sure if a group approvals might make things easier for you, you need some inspiration, consider these examples. An HR team that needs a single manager of several to sign off on a reimbursement request, a hiring manager looking to get feedback from the rest of their team about a new potential candidate, a field service manager trying to find an easy way to dispatch employees, a school managing elective requests for the upcoming school year. These are all just some use cases of endless possibilities. And on that note, I'm going to go take us into our demo where we can talk about more potential workflows. All right, so kicking things over into our demo, kicking off our demo here. I'm going to start today's demo here in my Jotform account. I am logged into my account, so those of you who are Jotform users, this should look familiar to you. Here, I can access any of my active forms. I can create new forms. I have organization here, etc. I'm going to start. Our first example will be this membership application form. So I'm going to click that and choose Edit Form to open this up in the form builder, where I can make any changes that I need to make to the form before I send it out to people who will be filling this out. All right, so a very straightforward form here. I've kept it generic on purpose. Hopefully some of you see an example here that would resonate with you and what you're trying to do. In this case, what I want to do in this example is set up a workflow where any one of the 4 people on my team can approve or deny a membership application. Once one person has reviewed it, nobody else has to worry about it. We just need one person to take a look at it. In order to add that approval workflow in, I'm going to go into settings and look for approval flow here, click that, and then click create an approval flow. That will automatically create the simple one-step approval flow that you see here. You can add on this and build on it however you need to. So you can change the outcomes, you can add additional outcomes, you can add additional levels of approvals, etc. In this case, what this particular workflow is showing is that somebody submits a membership application. The next step is that it goes to an approval level where, in this case, currently a single approver would approve or deny. Once that approver makes their decision, an email will go out to the applicant saying that they've been either approved or denied, depending on the decision, and then the workflow ends. Now, again, previously, if I had multiple approvers, what I'd have to do is add the approver email here. So we'll say that one is me. Maybe move that over to make space for another approval level. So we would open up the approval elements bar and add another approval, move that where it needs to go, connect everything. You can see that this pretty quickly can make for some unwieldy workflows, not necessarily space for everything that I need, or I'd have to condense things. Also, there's a lot of room for user error the more elements you add, because you have to make sure to connect everything in the appropriate way. I know I've made that mistake tons of times where my workflow isn't working, and it's because I've missed connecting something along the way. So instead of adding an additional approver element for each approver, now with group approvals, all we need is that single approval element. So we'll keep things as they were as I set up this approval flow. And I'm going to hover over that and look for the settings menu here, click on that. And I can add multiple approvers right here. This is also, as you can see, where you can add or change outcomes. So I can change this to yes or no, or whatever I need to do, add additional outcomes, provisional acceptance, whatever the case may be. And then again, the next thing after that is to add those additional approvers. So we'll say, let's add my additional approvers. So here we go. So I now have all 4 of my approvers added. And again, now I'm going to set this up so that this will go to all 4 people, but only one of them needs to review. Right below where you can add your approvers is where you'll see the completion rule. The first option here is to require a response from the majority. So in this case, that would be 3 of the 4 people on my potential list. We can also require a response from all. If you need a consensus or you need everybody to review a decision, you can do that. Require a response from one person, which is what I'm going to use here. And you can also require a certain number of responses. When you click that one, you then have the option of how many responses you want to include here. So if I needed 2 of the 4 people to respond, I could select 2. But again, I'm going to go with require response from one person in this case. And now that's it. My approval flow is ready to go. So instead of this coming to one person, it will go to all 4 of us. One of us will make a decision, and then the email will go out. Let's take a look at what this looks like on the back end once somebody actually applies for membership here. So we'll just do a test. And I'm not going to fill all of that out, but presumably an applicant would fill out the whole thing. And now I, as one of the approvers, should see something in my email momentarily where I am getting a request to make a decision on this. Let's check that out. Whoops. Go back to my email here. Here we go. So this email that says your action required. I have this enabled currently where anybody who's making a decision is required to log into their Jotform account, but you can change that so that people don't have to log into Jotform to make their decision. So in my case currently, when I click on any of these, approve, deny, or go to inbox, I'm going to be redirected to my Jotform inbox. So let's go into my inbox. An inbox is where you can see in your personal account a record of all of the things that have happened with this particular form. So you can see at the top, we have the membership application form. We can see all of the submissions that have come in. We can also see decisions as they're made. There aren't currently decisions on the rest of these, but as decisions are made, you'll see that pop up. So currently we can see this one is in progress. Now I'm going to go ahead and approve this. So let's say I was the first one to get to it and check it out. It looked good to me. So now we see a couple of things here. We see the notification that something came into the group for an approval, and then we see that this has been officially approved. You can see that of the 4 people, I approved it, and there's also an option to show details where you can see more information. So again, this shows you that I approved. It shows the date and time that I approved, and it shows that the 3 other people are not required to approve. And again, that's because I only needed 1 of the 4 of us to make a decision on this application. Now, when Lion, Tiger, or Cheetah log into their accounts, come into their accounts, they'll see that there's no action needed on their part, and they'll see that I already made a decision for this particular application. We also see the details of the completion rule here and the results, as well as the sent date. So all of that information is right here, all in one place, rather than having to go throughout the inbox to look for a decision from each of the 4 approvers. So that's our first example there. Next, I want to show something a little bit more complex. That was a pretty straightforward example. Here, I already have a workflow set up, but I thought an expense reimbursement form was something where you might potentially need multiple people to sign off on something. I think with expense reimbursements, there's often one person can sign off on this amount, but over that amount, we need multiple people to sign off, and that's exactly what I set up in this case. So once again, pretty straightforward form. I'm going to go into settings, and I do already have my workflow in place here. So I'll just click approval flows, and I'm going to click that pencil icon to open that up. So this is going to look a little bit more complex, but don't get freaked out. It's still pretty straightforward. In this case, I have added an if-else condition. So instead of the form going directly to approvers, this if-else condition is going to route it to an approver or multiple approvers based on the value of the reimbursement request. So this if-else condition says that if the total cost is greater than 100, so if that is true, it's going to multiple people on the right-hand side here. So if that's true, it's going this way. If it's less than $100, so if that's false, it's going just to one person. If it is less than $100 and it's just going to one person, all I need to do as the approver is to either approve and that email goes out, or I deny and the denial email goes out, and then the workflow ends. If it is going to multiple people, I need 2 of the 4 people on our team, 4 potential approvers, to approve and sign off on this rather than just approve it. And again, 2 people instead of just 1 person. For denial, same thing, we need 2 people to make a decision before something can be denied. So we have 2 people approve with a signature, or 2 people deny for this workflow to end on the more than $100 amount. So once again, let's look at what this looks like on the back end once this has already been submitted. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll have test submit another reimbursement, or submit a reimbursement here. Total cost is just over $100, and I'm going to click send. So once again, in my email, I will see that same email letting me know that there is something here that I need to do. By the way, this email can be completely customized. So if you are setting this up on the back end and you want your approvers to have more or less information, you can customize this however you'd like. So we'll show that. And once again, I'm going to click go to inbox, and we can see this in the inbox. So now again, we see the first notification that this has been sent and that we need 2 responses to complete the approval. I'm going to go ahead and approve. And then since this is an approve and sign, I will need to sign off on that, not my actual signature. So if you're trying to forge checks in my name, good luck. I'm going to go ahead and sign that. So now we should see this update. we will see that I have approved, but that it's still waiting because we need 2 people to respond in this case. So here, once again, I can click to show details, and we see that we're still waiting for either lion, cheetah, or tiger to weigh in. Let's say they are all on a month-long retreat in the savannah. They don't have computer access, but I did speak to Lion this morning. Lion knows this is a legit request, and Lion said to go ahead and sign off on their behalf. To do that, to take over a task on behalf of somebody, I'm going to hover over their name and look for the vertical ellipses and click that take over button. I can add a note here. So say I spoke with Lion on 5/11, approved. Let's say approving on Lion's behalf. I will approve. I will sign again on behalf of Lion, click sign. And once again, now that 2 people have approved, even though I've taken over for one of them, this has been approved. So taking over the task completes the workflow as if that person did complete it themselves. Now we see that this reimbursement has been officially approved. If I click show details, once again, we'll see my approval. We'll see the note that I included. And we'll see that I approved on behalf of Lion. We will also see again that cheetah and tiger are not required to respond because we already have our 2 decisions made. Okay, last example I want to show is the same thing, but using Teams. So I'm switching over to our internal Jotform account, which is a Jotform enterprise account. And I'm going to open up this internal webinar requests form. This is a form that anybody within Jotform can fill out to request that I do a webinar on a specific topic. And for the purpose of example today, let's assume that anybody on our communications team can add a webinar to a webinar, upcoming list of webinars. So similar example to the first one I showed. In this case, this will go to the team, but I just need 1 person to approve it. So I'm going to go to settings and open up an approval flow. Once again, create an approval flow. You'll see that this is identical to what you've seen so far. So it is automatically adding that simple 1-step approval that you can add to update however you need. In this case, it's going just to me. What I want to do is remove the approval elements. And instead of that, look for the team approval element. In the last example where you saw the approve and sign, that is the approve and sign element. So you do have 3 approval element options here. Approve would just be 1 person's approval or multiple people's approval that you're adding. Team approval is going to a team instead of people. And approve and sign, it means that a signature would be required. So now I have my team approval added. All I need to do, same thing, is open up that settings menu, look for a team or the team that I want to send this to. And I'm sending that to the comms team. And from there, also exactly the same. So the only difference here is that you're using the team approval element instead of an approval element. You can also request signature in this case. So I can turn that on and you'll see that we do have this approve and deny buttons here changed to show you that a signature is required. A little pen icon is included there. If I just wanted a signature for approval, I can turn that off for deny as well. And here, once again, we have the same completion rules. So once again, I'll just require a response from 1 person. So I'm not going to show the whole workflow on the back end for this one, since it is identical to what you've seen previously. But in this case, an email will go out to everybody on this team. And again, as soon as 1 person signs off, then the workflow is complete. So that wraps up our demos. Let's go back to the slides and close out with some resources and Q&A here. I know this is a lot. And again, we have made a lot of updates to approvals over the past 1.5 years. So if this is your first experience with approvals, you're kind of coming in on chapter 3. I did want to point to these webinars that I've done previously that talk a little bit more about approvals and getting started with approvals. Introducing approvals and advanced approvals were from when we launched approvals. So that'll give you a pretty comprehensive overview of everything that you can do with approvals. And 10 new approvals updates was about 6 months ago, where I covered a number of updates that we've made. So combined, this is a pretty good primer if you want to learn more about approvals. You can find those on jotform.com/webinars. You can also check them out on our YouTube channel, which is just YouTube, the Jotform. And they will be included in the description for this session as well. So if you are looking at this session, you'll see links to all of those. I also have a blog here that my colleague Chris wrote that covers pretty much everything I've covered today. So if you want to reinforce what I've talked about, or you're more of a person who learns by reading, check that out as well. Excellent resource for you there too. And on that note, I'm going to ask Lainey to hop in. And Lainey, do we have a couple of questions?
Hi, Morgan. Yes, it's been a great session, and we do have a couple of questions here today. So let me rattle those off for you really quickly. Somebody was asking that besides the Jotform that needs a signature, we need the person submitting the form to be able to upload documents like receipts or invoices. And they typically are submitted as a PDF, JPEG, or PNG file. And they're wondering if that's something they can do with Jotform.
Yeah, that's a question that we actually get pretty often. Let me see. Whoops, wrong side. I'm going to try to go back out to my one of my demos here and show where you can find that. So if you go back into your form, and as you're building your form, let's go into my membership application form and edit that. There is an option where you can ask people who are submitting the form to upload files, and that is file upload right here. So it's just one of your basic form elements. And I believe any of those formats that were mentioned are, people are able to upload those, definitely JPEGs, PNGs, PDFs, etc. So, yep.
Perfect. I would suggest you stay there if you don't mind. Somebody was also asking if they can use this to get a signature on a document as a replacement for DocuSign.
Yeah, for sure. So if you are not aware of Jotform Sign, we did roll out a comprehensive signature product last year. You can also add a signature element to a form here. So that is in the kind of toward the top of your basic form elements. And if you want to have this be aligned with Jotform Sign and Sign automation, you really just have to click a button. It gives you an audit trail, a couple of other things. We have a number of resources on that. So if you'd like to learn more about Jotform Sign, you can go ahead and email our support team or me. I'm Morgan at jotform.com, or that YouTube channel that I mentioned. There are a ton of resources there, webinars, other tutorials, etc. So if you want to give it a shot on your own, that is a great place to check for more Sign resources as well.
Fantastic. And then we had a number of different questions trying to understand what the limits were for how many approvers you can have. And then also just looking back at those settings for how you can require one person, a majority, everyone. If you could just show that again really quickly, I think that'll help answer a lot of questions we've had in the chat. For
sure. Yeah. And I know that there's a lot there. So I can go over that. So the first, to cover the limits, there are 3 different limits depending on what kind of account you have. So if you have a free Jotform plan, you can have up to 3 approvers listed here. So I currently have 4, so I just have to remove one of those. If you have any paid Jotform account, you can have up to 10 approvers here. And if you're a Jotform Enterprise user, you can have as many approvers there as you want. So there's no limit on that. And then to go over the completion rule, you have 4 options. So I have, in the case that I set up here, where I'm requiring a response from one person. So as soon as one person weighs in, nobody else is required to do so. I can require a response from the majority. So 3 out of 4 in this case, or whatever your majority is, depending on how many approvers you have. I can require all 4 approvers to weigh in on the decision. Or I can require a certain number of responses and then determine how many responses that is. So if I wanted 2 people of the 4 to weigh in, for example, I could do that there.
Excellent. And then while you're on that screen, one other question was asking if you could show again briefly how to customize the email that the approvers receive.
Yeah, the email that approvers receive, I believe is in, oh yeah, approval request email. It's right here. So it's in the approval properties. And you can just hit edit. So it's that, sorry, if I did that kind of quickly. So it's the last option here. So this is the same panel that I'm in. It's your settings panel for your approvers, approval request email, and just hit edit. And here is where you can fully customize that. So, change things, add things, remove things, whatever you want to do. By default, it is going to give whatever your outcome options are, as well as the go to inbox option. And we'll give your approvers all of the content that's included in the form. So they'll see the entirety of the form here. But again, you can customize that however you need.
Wonderful. Thank you. And then just to reiterate, for group approvals, a number of people were asking about if you've already hit your required list of people to approve and the approval has already processed. What if you could just clarify again, what will happen to the people that are still asked to approve if the approval has already been processed? What will they see in that inbox, or what will they see in their messages?
Yeah, so that email goes out to all approvers at the same time as the email that I showed. So they will still have that email, but when they click on it and they go into their inbox, they'll see that there's no response needed. I think same thing in the email, not 100% sure about that, but if so if they just click on approve in the email, they should see that their decision isn't required either. So so they'll still get that email, but if somebody else has already taken care of it, they'll just see that their response isn't required anymore.
Great, thank you. Well, I believe that covers pretty much all the questions. We've got some others that responded to separately. So I think people asking about the recording, of course, so you might want to just reiterate that as well, that we'll have it on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so as Lainey just mentioned, this will be up on our YouTube channel today. So if you go to YouTube and search the Jotform, or you just Google YouTube and Jotform, whatever, you will get to our YouTube channel. You'll see this webinar. You'll see all of our other webinars, all of our other videos, training videos, whatever it is that you need as far as video resources on our YouTube channel. And again, the resources that I mentioned at the end there will also be included in the description of this session. So you'll be able to easily access them there as well if you want a little bit more information about approvals. So you will see that today. If you want to look for it on your own, you will also receive an email within the next week that gives you a link to the recording. And on that note, I want to thank everybody for being here today. Thanks for bearing with me and my little bit shakier than usual with my cold here, but thank you for attending. And we have a number of webinars coming up. We have one about our new integration with Link by Stripe on next Wednesday. And then I think pretty much every week throughout the month of June, we have another webinar coming. So stay tuned for more from us, and we hope to see you at the next one. Thanks. Bye.